The unprecedented economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is pushing children into exploitative and dangerous child labor. Many children feel they have no choice but to work for their families to survive. These school closures also provide nothing but denying families the logical alternative other than sending children to work. This is proven by the increasement of number of child labor from 152 million in 2016 to 160 million in 2021. From this number, 79 million of them are performing hazardous work, while the agriculture sector accounts for the largest share of child labor worldwide, with a percentage of 70%. The lost childhood, child labor. The term child labor refers to the employment of children in an industry or business, especially when illegal or considered exploitative. It is often defined as work that deprives children of their childhood, their potential, and their dignity, and that is harmful to physical and mental development. If we immerse into the word child labor more deeply, it is mentally, physically, socially, morally dangerous and harmful to children. It also interferes with their schooling by depriving them of their opportunity to attend school, obligating them to leave school prematurely, or requiring them to attempt to combine school attendance with excessively long and heavy work. At the beginning of 2020, it is estimated that 160 million children were subjected to child labor and 9 million more children were at risk because of COVID-19. This affects almost 1 over 10 children aged 5 and over around the world. There are many things that can push kids to work, such as when families are facing financial challenges or they are migrant or refugee children. They are working at jobs that put their health, safety and development at risk. A National Bureau of Economic Research on Child Labor found that most child labor occurs in countries with extremely low per capita GDP, and that per capita GDP and its square explains 80% of the worldwide cross-country variation in child labor. The international consulting firm Maplecroft has compiled a child labor index to rank which countries are the worst offenders in the realm of child labor, and the top 3 of them include Bangladesh, Chad, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Although the Democratic Republic of the Congo is the largest producer of the world's cobalt supply, with an estimated 65% of the total supply, the country is one of the countries that has the lowest GDP per capita. Therefore, to fulfill the world demand, the country has included children to be involved in the mining process. Congolese activists say there are about 10,000 children who need to work 12 hours per day at the mining site. However, the maximum wage that the teenager can earn is only as much as $9 before making the long walk home. Because of this, most kids from DRC can't go to school or spend their childhoods like kids in other countries. Same cases happen in the Eastern Province. The internal conflict has caused extreme poverty, hunger and disease, forcing more than hundreds of thousands of children to be put to work to help support their parents. The title of The Lost Childhood, Child Labor points out the biggest impact for children that involve in child labor. This includes the impact on the children's physical, mental, social, or educational development. They are forced to be mature at such a young age, which resulted in them losing their precious time and journey as children who should be experiencing life, spending time with their peers in social play and family members, learning how to interact properly, and receiving education. However, being a child laborer has taken many tolls on these children, especially in the child's social development, which leads to difficulties in their educational development, as they are more likely to perform poorly in school, drop out of their education, and some are illiterate. Furthermore, these children have a higher risk in experiencing isolation and depression, which restrain them to develop healthy emotions as they grow. Child laborers who are involved in the dangerous working conditions and from taking on physical tasks that are too advanced for them are most likely to be in higher risk of health issues and accidents, as they're always exposed to hazardous and dangerous machines. ILO Director General Guy Ryder stated that the annual toll is appalling: 2.78 million work-related deaths and 374 million injuries and illnesses. This emphasizes that child workers are highly at risk of becoming involved in dangerous situations that may result in the illnesses, injuries, and even death. We could conclude from the observation from ILO that the cost of child-bonded labor is paid over a lifetime through the loss of health, education, and opportunities, which means that the impact of child labor will have on the children will be throughout their lifetime. The truth is, most of us are well aware that child labor is a heavily condemned practice in most countries. However, the contradictory fact is that the sight of children at work is far from being an uncommon one, even in Malaysia. But is it true that child labor issue does not exist in Malaysia? Are there really working children in our country? A simple walk-around tour will reveal a number of babies and young children who are being used to beg along 5-footways, pedestrian bridges, bus stops, and so on. This picture clearly shows the sight of children being used to beg, which is not rare anymore in Malaysia. Why is this the case? Are there no laws in Malaysia which prohibit children from working, sometimes in hazardous environments like palm oil plantations? This would certainly be a surprising discovery, considering the progress that has been made in safeguarding children in other aspects, such as the recent advancements that were made legally in the area of child sexual abuse. Moreover, there is shocking news in Malaysia when one of the big companies in Malaysia are being banned due to child labor issues. To be clearer, as you can see in the news, Malaysian-owned Sundarbi Plantation Berhad, which is one of the biggest companies in Malaysia, was banned by the United States as they were using the child as their labor force. Anecdotal pieces of evidence indicate that the incidences of child labor often are associated with non-Malaysians who have limited legal rights and their children have limited access to education. However, studies on Malaysian palm oil plantations also found that at least 2/3 of the children working are Malaysian, according to Jodala Mitra, technical officer with the International Labour Organization. In Malaysia, there are certain restrictions on child labor, which is the Children and Young Persons Employment Act governs such employment in Malaysia, which children must be at least 15 years of age and cannot be employed in any hazardous work. Section 2(1) of the Act specifies 3 requirements that an employer must meet before a child or young person can be hired, which are employment involving light work, employment in the public entertainment industry, perform work approved or sponsored by federal government, and employment as an apprentice under an apprenticeship contract approved by Director General. Talking about Malaysia's role and efforts in eliminating child labor, Malaysia has ratified the International Labour Organization's Minimum Age Convention as well as the Worst Forms of Child Labor Convention. Additionally, Malaysia indicated interest in being an Alliance 8.7 pathfinder country in November 2019. Both the ILO and UNICEF urged Malaysia to pursue this during the webinar. Alliance 8.7 is a worldwide alliance focused on accelerating activities toward SDG Target 8.7, scaling up effective solutions, fostering innovation, and leveraging and maximizing the impact of resources to end forced labor, modern slavery, human trafficking, and child labor. Moreover, the United Nations has designated 2021 as the International Year to End Child Labor. This gives all governments, international and regional organizations, worker organizations, employer and business membership organizations, civil society organizations, academic institutions, and other relevant stakeholders and networks the opportunity to join efforts to end child labor in all forms by 2025, the deadline set by SDG Target 8.7. According to the STAR, Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights stipulates that all persons shall have the right to free and compulsory education, at least in the elementary stages. Pursuant to Article 28 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, state parties must make primary education compulsory and available to all. Besides, IPEC has shown leadership and experience in employing education to combat child labor in both formal and informal settings, which has proven to be effective in preventing child labor and rehabilitating former child workers. Former child laborers' rehabilitation has benefited greatly from non-formal or transitional schooling. Vocational education and training has provided the necessary skills for productive employment, which has aided local and national growth.